JAGEX has committed this year to restoring the game, even releasing a roadmap that's known as the Road to Restoration, and even plans to do more with the coming years, especially year 2. But I'm actually not here to talk about any of the stuff they've confirmed. I'm here to talk about a completely different subject. It is one that I feel actually ties in deeply to it, though, and the game would benefit from greatly. It's time to treat the old areas like we're expanding new areas. We're actually currently in the middle of receiving an expansion to a different continent east of Mauritania. It's called Havenheim, and so far, it's not bad at all. We've yet to receive any of the actual, main end goal benefits of it yet, but it is coming. The thing is, though, Havenheim really drove in for me that we do need to see better love to old areas. NTX items led to a lot of damage to the game. It can't be permanent damage, but it did damage a lot of the area, regions, and just reasons to go anywhere. We've also seen some good updates over the years that have also kind of accidentally created secondary issues, such as mining and smithing no longer causing items to drop from mobs generally. And I mean metals and ores more specifically. Some areas have bloat, some of them have had bloat removed, some of them need more bloat removed. And yet, despite many areas being dense with, places and things, these things are oftentimes dead or just not worth doing. This leads us to Proposition 1, figuring out what needs to be removed and what can be reworked. Some things don't even need to be completely reworked, some things just need to be buffed or adjusted. Take Pyramid Plunder for example. It's perfectly viable, it's nothing wrong with the actual activity itself, but think about the rewards you get from it compared to other thieving activities. It's just kind of not exciting. In fact, it's not even used to train anymore, which is wild. This is an example of something that doesn't need a full rework, but could definitely use some new items on its table, and maybe some adjusted XP rates to be more competitive. Competitive. That's going to be a very important word here, actually, as we go forward. One thing modern RuneScape has done pretty well in the recent years is the world generally feels large and connected due to the different areas that places can... No shit, places can be in areas, Garrett. What was that? Sorry, I really meant to say activities. New activities are oftentimes spread out throughout the world, which is very much a plus side. That's a good thing. It's just that these places are also oftentimes the only viable or realistic places you would wind up training or doing any kind of activity, and that's a problem for a game that has you play your way. Not every area should have access to every single resource or even necessarily the same level of activity, but every area should provide some kind of way to train that skill. Areas need to compete for which resources are the most valuable for them, and which areas need just new content. This also inevitably leads to another thing I think the game could use, which is competitive XP rates. You could take 2, let's say, level 60 agility courses. This is just a random example. They can both offer the same level, or give or take, XP rates, but can be balanced around secondary rewards as to which you would rather go to. When creating a new place within an area, it's important to ask, what should it have? What should its value be? The XP, the resources, or maybe uniques? Now, naturally, not every single one of them is going to be a hit, and some of them are still going to be left in the dust compared to others. But as long as it's strong enough to provide a niche use, then hell, why not? Now's a good time to reinforce, I do mean after everything that's going on. None of this is a priority, but it should become a priority eventually. What doesn't really seem like a problem now will eventually seem like a problem when, after all these nice little road to restoration updates, everything gets better. Suddenly, you're going to notice some things are just kind of off whenever you try to make a new account or play a temporary game mode. Hell, one of the biggest issues with this game is how in-game loaded it is already, and many areas just don't really offer enough content for earlier levels. When playing a game, a player should be able to walk into a region and then just kind of get momentarily lost in it, just trying to figure out what all can even be done there and what all they want to do there. But in recent years, RuneScape just keeps making completely new areas, adding maybe one quest or a few activities there, and then stopping and moving on to a completely, yet again, new area. And this creates a lot of areas that don't exactly have that much depth and are more like story stages or just kind of picture books, if you will. And the thing is, a lot of these areas are very nice looking. There's just not enough there. I mean, look at areas like Mazcap. We got a whole area that comes from a different world. It's a desert-like area, otherworldly, planetary, kind of Martian sort of style. And then we got, of course, raids, and that's about it. Yeah, we do have pickpocketing nowadays, and there's still a couple other activities there. I'm kind of exaggerating. But these activities don't really feel fleshed out. The area does not feel fleshed out. And the thing is, it could be fleshed out as much as they want. It's a whole nother world. But it's not even just these sort of new areas they sort of pump and dump. Even the classic areas, a lot of them are still kind of lacking that real kind of continental drive to them. The Wilderness, for example, which is one of my favorite regions, and I would love to be able to do a Wilderness, region-locked Iron Man there. But it has a long history, and it's still not where it should be. Now that PvP is removed, unless you toggle it on, right, from the Wilderness, it's kind of just become more barren. There are Slayer monsters there, and there are great Slayer monsters there. It's a great place to do Slayer, but it's mostly just kind of end game, late game sort of Slayer. Actual skilling in the Wilderness is like basically non-existent. This should be a place of high risk, high reward, even without the PvP, and so far, it doesn't really do that. They tried doing that with some random flash mobs that would jump you at a certain wilderness danger, but it really wasn't that great of a system. You weren't rewarded anything if you managed to kill them, and most of the time you just wind up getting jumped by late game mobs that you couldn't even harm, and you would just have to run and hope you don't die. Naturally, the player base wasn't happy about it and it got removed, so now the place doesn't have any kind of real danger to it. Not to mention it has a lot of old dated content that could use some love itself, like the Chaos Elemental and the Revenants. This is just one example of an area that could really need love, and that doesn't even stop there. Kandarin, Keldagrim, the entirety of Tirawan, right? All of it. All these kind of places and more just are forgotten, and they're not really being updated properly with actual resources that could make them worth going to. Now I know what you're thinking, Tirawan has Prif, yes, obviously, but I'm referring to outside of Prif in this case. This leads me to Proposition 2. Vote. Let's vote on which regions should receive the love first. Turning this into a community-driven task, a community-driven event, will do great things for the game. We have a horrible new player problem going on in RuneScape right now, and I know regions don't sound like something that needs to be updated for that to happen, but this also includes regions that they can access in the earlier stages of the game. I mean, Kandarin is one of them that can be accessed instantly, Mauritania, Wilderness. A lot of these regions, Feldup Hills, just are bland, they're boring, they're outdated visually, they're outdated mechanically. Finding a reason to add content to every area for every stage of the game, at least almost every stage of the game, is going to benefit keeping new players in the game and will help us veterans enjoy it even more. And all this doesn't even really properly go into region lock like I also plan to do. Like, yeah, I am going to be talking about region locked Iron Man, like that is something we really don't have in this game. Now, I briefly mentioned that things like mining, the mining rework led to stuff like this, but it's not even just that. It's just the decisions they are making to not let a part of the world feel isolated. Want to know a funny example of, how ridiculous it gets? You can't even get silver in Mauritania. Mauritania only iron would actually be possible if not for that. Allowing the exception to go talk to Keen Rold during the quest lines for the Mire Queue, even that alone will allow you to do every single quest but River of Blood. And this isn't just Mauritania, this is a consistent thing across the board. A lot of times the early game just makes them impossible, or they don't have enough of a late game payoff. But then you see other regions like Misthalin, which are just so unbelievably packed that they needed to be de-bloated. You might be asking yourself, Garrett, why should I care about region locked on my account that I just play normally? And that's because you mostly don't, but also just a little bit. things like region lock gameplay have done a lot for content over in old school, and that content has done a lot to attract new players and retain new players, and giving old veteran players new ways to play. So even when you don't want to, somebody else might, and it might be just the reason they start playing. There's also just many niche ways to play in the middle of it, niche methods that you get an appreciation for when you take the time to slow down and do it. That's part of what RuneScape's about, really, is just the journey and enjoying it, and just every piece of it. Enjoying the small things, enjoying the big things, enjoying every single drop, enjoying every single level, enjoying every single piece of anything that you've earned yourself. And no, Iron Man is not required to play at all. In fact, this will still benefit mainscapes. Adding new resources to areas will also create new content for them. Creating content will keep us retained and help attract new players. Yes, many of the areas need to be created new so they don't bloat the mainland too much. However, one of the things we underutilize greatly in this game is the entire system of underground networks. It's like, one of the ideas I actually have had before is the Nexus. I don't know how many of you guys remember that like hand thing that reminds me of the Dead Hands from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and the Lumbridge Swamp. Yeah, that got removed, but I actually think it could have just been moved underground. But I also think it should be completely reworked into a skilling boss, so there's that. But that is not here nor there. That could be a second follow-up video about ideas I personally have. Let me know if you guys are ever interested in ideas I have for the game. A lot of the Wilderness Slayer monsters that are actually just kind of annoying or just feel like they're placed there just to fill out the void. If we had actual content in these places and then moved these monsters into the underground cavern systems, maybe even expanding the Chaos Tunnels or the 4-3 dungeon, it would work out super well. It would also allow you to place lower level Slayer monsters there, which is beneficial for all accounts. I feel like this was utilized way more back in the day when they were removing bloat, like with things like the game corner, right? When they moved that to the Falador like game cave. Clan Wars and Stealing Creation being down there just kind of made sense. It removed a lot of bloat, it was in an easy access place in a free-to-play area, and with expanding upon the underground comes creative decisions onto how we even get down there. Is it in a tower? Is it in a cave? A ravine? You name it. It adds a more natural feel to the world and adds, effectively, lore. I've kind of probably ranted long enough, though. This was a very messy video, as you could probably tell. That being said, I still just wanted to get that out there. Like, this is something I feel very strongly about and would love to see more of the community join in on and discuss and kind of pioneer forward. And if you're an old school player, this obviously will help you too in the end if you ever do have an interest in the game. This will help you appreciate the regions and new content. I already know a lot of new players and a lot of migrating old school players feel that the early game is too bland and empty. And I see no better way to tie in new early game content than treating old regions better. I don't know, hopefully I made sense and articulated myself well enough. If you guys ever do want to see more, have more discussion about this, want to hear more ideas, you just go ahead and let me know in the comments below. And please, 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 please drop your ideas for what you would like to see and within specific regions. Like, I personally would love to see temple trekking in Mauritania be reworked, right? But my name has been Garrett Dimwits, will continue to be Garrett Dimwits, and I will see you later.